My wife started having some weird issues. One week while I was traveling, talking in riddles, chanting, behaving oddly, she was giving things away, throwing out things that were plastic, was hearing voices through her. And our daughter's phones in the lake called me and told me to delete some of our friends' numbers because they were bad spirits. Somehow she lost $100,000 that we had stored away for an extreme emergency since we had recently moved. I hadn't yet put it into the system safe. One of the nights I was away, she was out knocking on neighborhood doors at 2 in the morning. The police called me when they found her due to someone calling them, but I missed a call. They called my son, who then called me. She made it back home, okay? But had thrown her and our daughter's phone in the lake. I didn't know this yet. She sent me an email at 3 a.m. from her computer saying she was okay and she and our daughter had lost their phones. I got home the next day and she welcomed me as I arrived. She seemed very euphoric and happy to see me, but was talking tangentially, but overall seemed normal. The next day I found her digging in the backyard with her bare hands. I told her we should go to the hospital and have her checked out. She said, okay. I got her cleaned up at this point. She said she was tired. So I put on some soft music and had her take a nap. I ordered food while she slept, and when she got up we ate, watched a little TV. And then she was tired. So we went to bed. Everything seemed okay. The next morning at 5 a.m. she started talking and rambling about spirits and government conspiracies. I told her I was still tired and to go back to sleep. She got up. I went back to bed. When I got up, I found all the doors open and the pets wandering the neighborhood. When I got back to the house, she had our dog. By the way, she spent $5,000 on a dog we didn't want or need and couldn't really take care of that week in her arms. And she said she needed to return it to the neighbor. It was theirs. I told her no, she had just bought it. There is more craziness, but I don't have energy to type it all. I said, let me put him away and let's go. We went to get her checked out and they wound up putting her on a 72-hour hold. I had no idea what that was, but they took her out of my care and forced me to leave the hospital. The doctor later told me it was some type of manic episode and they would take care of her. I called every hour on the hour checking on her and they didn't have a bed, but they had medicated her, Benadryl, Haldol and Avon, and she was resting. Finally, around 1 a.m. they transported her to a psych facility where they were to help her. I called the facility around 8 a.m. to check on her and they said she was resting peacefully. They told me they had a visiting hour at 11 a.m. to 12 noon. The place was an hour away. So I left at 9:45 a.m. and was there to see her at 11. I had to walk through 3 locked badge doors and was escorted and watched by a security officer at all times. Then I had to wait in the visitation area for her. She comes walking in very euphoric. Hi, sweetie. Although she had a bit of an issue with her speech, comes up and hugs me. Although walking slowly and gingerly, I hugged her tight and said, how are you doing? She says I just had sex. I said. She said, yeah. I said with who. I figured she was hallucinating. She said a guy here, he said he was you and that he was my husband. But once we were having sex, he said his name is Johnny and he is going to be my new boyfriend. I was stunned and knew she was in a fragile state and didn't say much more about it. I was in shock. I reported it to the facility after my visiting time with her was over and they told me I had to leave. I asked for an administrator and talked to 2 people. They told me it happened sometimes, but they would investigate. They take all allegations seriously and they would be calling in the police. They then started stonewalling me and giving me little bits and pieces, saying it was a privacy issue and patients were entitled to privacy. I told them I had a medical power of attorney. We both have one on each other, but that didn't help. She wouldn't share any of her test results, any of the meds. They were giving her nothing. The second day I came to see her, she was so drugged up. She couldn't even talk. They still wouldn't give me details. One person told me the incident happened at 9:40. Amy had gotten there at 11. The police report confirmed all of the facts as they had interviewed both parties and the witness. They said there were no charges as both parties said it was consensual. So there was no more investigation. I am crushed by it. Part of our bond has been that we have both been so in love for 23 years and haven't wanted others. One of her phrases is, "My body is my temple." The moment I would break, that would be the end of us again. It is crushing to read the police report of what she said and what the witness found. She is home and doing much better and is attending therapy and taking her meds at her last therapy session. Her therapist asked if she wanted me in the session and she said, sure. They talked about all sorts of stuff. And at one point, she talks about an incident I had heard of before when the husband of one of her friends had grabbed her breast and she was freaked out by it. Except this time the story goes on and she said he did that and then we had sex. I am sitting there on the couch next to her, stunned again. Now it was like 14 years ago, but this is the first time I am hearing this and I thought we shared everything. My mind goes back to wondering why our sex dried up suddenly at that time for a few years. Our daughter is 13 years old and now my mind is racing. It took years for our life to get back on track. I heard all of this last Monday and I am feeling broken and that my life has been a lie. Have there been other guys? Do I have all the truth? Does she really want to be with me or am I just a provider? I am very successful but she spins it all. Just had to get this off my chest. As most of you know, I do not go to Reddit most. If not all of my stories come in from people who are sending their stories to me directly but came across this story, thought you guys might enjoy it. Well, what would you guys have done in this situation? She lost $100,000. Wow. I don't know if I would keep a woman in my life if she lost that amount of money. And they have been together 23 years. If you made it this far, I always say people react differently in certain situations, even though she lost that amount of money. It seems he is still very much into his wife, even after she cheated and lost quite a bit of money. Until next time.